So, there's pros and cons, and I thought about this when I was rewatching it, because I do remember that when I was trying to follow Romeo and Juliet, instead of, like, when I was studying it for school, instead of, like, watching the plays, I watched this, because I could, use the text. Everybody, and welcome to Hooked on Cinema. I'm Gabby.
I'm T.
And today we're going to be discussing one love story that has tested the test of time, has been around for hundreds of years, and that
one iteration of that story.
Yes, to be
Let's
fair,
put it that way.
One version of it. What some might say is a classic, others may not agree. Oh my god, this is gonna be so much fun.
I don't.
I could see it in your face. It's gonna be so much fun. It is none other than Romeo and Juliet, but the
Leonardo DiCaprio and
DiCaprio
Claire Danes version that came out in 1996, and it was directed by Baz Luhrmann. Written by him, Craig Pearce, and of course William Shakespeare, and the production company was Baz Luhrmann Productions. And it had a decent supporting cast too, like who knows, Paul Rudd's in it. Yeah, he has a little role in there, but it was like decent supporting cast, and also a movie for kind of launching Claire Danes and Leonardo DiCaprio. Definitely helped with their careers, but this was the first time I had watched it, and that would be the last time I will ever watch it.
I have definitely watched it. Also, we are crocheting, so as a reminder, we do crochet while we discuss movies. I am doing a Mandalorian.
And I am working on the large size of the nesting baskets I have been working on the previous videos.
Whoop. Which you can buy on her Etsy shop. She has an Etsy shop. Okay.
Yeah. TSB Crafts Store.
I will link down in the description for that. So, I watched Elvis, which is I want to say the most recent Baz Luhrmann film, which is the director of Romeo and Juliet. And I had done for previously a podcast with a coworker, and she had said like, "Oh, this is a Baz Luhrmann film," and I was like, "What is a Baz Luhrmann film? What? Okay, it is and I don't want to fault the editor. Okay, we only do what the director says, but God, did he want to remind you that it was edited every second of every day? Oh my God, I was like, I could never not know that I was watching a film. It was. Oh my goodness. I think that's the signature. That and like the aesthetic color theme that he does, because he does like this whimsical, but like sharp cuts, like real weird transitions, like in your face editing seems to be the theme of his movies. So
yeah, each director develops their own style after a bit, and it can really either complement or hurt them. Because if, they try it a couple times and their films flop, then, production companies aren't going to be asking them, hey, can you direct this next big blockbuster hit? But if what they try works and their general look is good, like probably a good example of that is Quentin Tarantino. He's got a style, but he's an A-list director.
No, yeah. And I feel like Baz Luhrmann has gotten a lot of, like, leeway, I want to say, is the right wording for that, for his films. I mean, he did make Elvis, which is very, very popular, if you didn't know, with Austin Butler. And so, I get it, but it was as a editor, I was like, oh man, I would have so much fun editing that, because I'd just be like, it's in your face, I'm right here.
Yeah, this movie, Romeo and Juliet, it was a very interesting creative choice for using the original Shakespeare dialogue and setting it in a modern time, which I do give them kudos for that because it's very risky in the business to do something so different, and especially with the Shakespeare language because so many people just don't like it. Or they have
Or
a hard
don't
time
understand it.
yeah, they just have a hard time understanding it, especially when it's really spoken at a rate that's spoken in this movie. Sometimes you have to be like, wait, what did I just say? Because the way the wording is, it's taking a long time to say something, or it's just said in such a way that your brain takes a minute to be like, okay, that's what that means. So that was very risky on their part, and kudos for them for having the courage to do that and just trying something new, because that's how we come across just like sometimes some very fantastic films are just created on a chance. They doing something outside the box, something really creative. So they tried it with this film. I personally don't think it worked. I didn't not like it. Within the first 10 minutes, I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
She did text me this. She did. 10 minutes into this film, I was at work and I went, ha ha ha. Because I did not tell her that it was going to be in the Shakespearean text. Because I wanted her to experience that.
Well, it wasn't even just that part. It was the way it was shot. Because, the first 10 minutes is the two families meeting at the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
And just that part alone is very stylistic and different.
Super.
Yeah, and very over the top. Even without the Shakespeare language, it's just very over the top and kind of ridiculous.
I love how it zooms into the sword. So there's pros and cons, and I thought about this when I was rewatching it, because I do remember that when I was trying to follow Romeo and Juliet, instead of when I was studying it for school, instead of watching the plays, I watched this because I could, use the text. To college, up to taking a theater course. And even then, I had to take a few a few Shakespearean courses for me to finally change my opinion on this. But I used to hate with the passion, Romeo and Juliet.
The story in general, or
Yes.
this film?
No. The story in general. Because I thought Romeo was a lusty little boy who just found a prettier girl and got over Rosalind super quickly. And I was like, this is not true love. After taking a Shakespearean class and studying the way that Shakespeare authored the play, every time Romeo and Juliet are in a scene together, their soliloquies, so their dialogue, is one dialogue. So they speak as one person. So it's written that way for them to be one person. So that's the idea of soulmates and stuff like that. Also, back in that day, which is one thing that frustrates me that we haven't changed in any adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. We're talking West Side Story, we're talking any adaptation has not changed this at all. And if there is one that's changed it, comment down below, because I would love to see that adaptation, which is the 3-day thing. We meet the first day, get married the second day, dead the third.
Yeah, it just happens so fast that, especially for me, that's just so unbelievable, and I consider that to be more lust than love.
Okay, so here's where the time period that this was created is very, very important. Theatrical plays were done in the span of hours. That meant love stories and everything was done in hours. In fact, William Shakespeare himself got into trouble because he made it 3 days. So the equivalent of 3 days back then would be 3 years for us. Now, story-wise. And I just don't like that we haven't adapted to make it that longer period of time that it's supposed to be. It's literally his longest play in duration of time in his plays. And it's supposed to, because of that, because it's such an epic love story, and it's supposed to have taken so long. Again, in regards to like their time periods where like someone falls in love in 20 seconds and then like all that stuff. All his other stuff, like all his other romances are within like the day or half a day. And Romeo and Juliet was done in 3 days. Again, not because it was so fast. It was actually supposed to perceive the opposite. It was supposed to be like, this love has been for like so long. And like, so people have not adapted to that. They haven't like understood that, which is fair. Cause it's like, it took me like actually going to like Shakespearean clubs and like people who have been studying it for 50 years to like explain it to me. But I'm like, okay, then why aren't filmmakers adjusting for that?
That's a good point. If they did, I think it would be a better story.
Mm-hmm.
Because as, like, I don't watch romance stuff, so to me, just Romeo and Juliet in general is kind of a ridiculous love story. I understand that through history, you know, that it's very epic. It's one of Shakespeare's best works. And he is very important for the culture and stuff. I get that. But it's also, to me, sends a bad message of like, oh, if you don't have your true love, just go kill yourself. Yeah, I've never really been a fan of it, of Romeo and Juliet.
Fair enough. And this one probably did not help you.
No, it did not. I do give props to the general look of it. It was like the color scheme and everything, like their costumes, the cars, like it all looked great. The locations, very interesting. I think they could have used more money on buying guys' shirts. But yeah, overall, it was a big risk, and some people love it, some people don't. I'm just gonna be one of the ones that I'm good for never seeing this movie ever again. I did think there were a couple things.
Yes.
Like, yeah, the editing was pretty
in your
choppy,
face.
but I noticed the sound also. It seemed like sometimes the background sound would get kind of like drown out the dialogue a little bit, and I always find that so annoying with movies because, you know, you gotta like turn it up to try to hear it, and then all of a sudden like something really loud happens, you gotta turn it back down. So I think that's just bad sound design right there. They should have brought the dialogue out, especially since it is a Shakespeare dialogue.
Not the sound, but like the music. It like was really weird because there were moments where like you'd be like listening to it, and it's like in your face lyrics on like what you should be feeling and stuff.
Yeah, so they tried to kind of, it seemed like they tried to meld old music with new music and just present it in a different way. It was very odd. I did like the choir stuff. That was sung really nice. But yeah, overall, it was, each part of this film just was so much that it's overwhelming.
It is like in your face. I will not lie about that. It is so in your face. I don't know. Like rewatching it, I definitely loved Leonardo's portrayal of Romeo. I remember why he was my heartthrob. But that beginning scene is so weird because it's supposed to... It is, I want to say a nada que ver scene, which just means in English, like, it has nothing to do with the plot. It's just a prologue type thing. And it's just to show you, like, these two groups of people that really, really hate each other. It is funny that they have the line, which is one of my favorite lines. It's like, because it's all in Shakespeare and it's literally like copied and paste his script. But like, you know, I throw my thumb at him, I throw my thumb at him. And back then that was like the big like, I have thumbs, and like this badass thief, because most of the time they would get their thumbs chopped off.
Yeah, they got caught.
Yeah, so that was like a thing. That was like a big insult. That was like throwing the bird, I guess, nowadays, or even worse than that. I don't know. But it's like, it sounds so weird coming out of like this big, bulky, like guy. And I'm like,
Yeah, I will say the beginning 10 minutes did set the tone for the rest of the movie. So in that aspect, it did what it was supposed to do. It set up just how the rest of the movie is going to look, how they're going to be quickly talking in the Shakespearean dialogue, and also, of course, setting up the rivalries between the two families.
So yeah, but that has more to do with Shakespeare, because he set that up. He created that. But no, you're right. It does give you that jarringness. So if you don't like the editing and the style of the first 10 minutes, that's it. Give up on the movie.
Yep. I wish I had.
Okay, so I will talk about this. I didn't realize that he was in it, and we talked about it. Is Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is in it. And as always, poor Paul Rudd is outdone by a more good-looking actor. I feel bad because I don't think Paul Rudd is that bad-looking. He ends up in scenes with Captain America and characters like that. So I'm and I also hate that Paul Rudd is so lovable as an actor. I think he's such a great and talented actor that I did not I did not hate Paris. Which is funny because I remember when I first saw this, even as a kid, I was like, but that guy's nice. That guy's
Paris in here, he's not really seen as a bad guy, which he's not really. He's just a regular guy. He likes Juliet. He's friends with the family, and especially in the old days, that's a typical, setup. Marry the daughter off to someone in good status. Mm-hmm. And he didn't do anything bad at all. So it was really unfair on him.
Yeah. And so it's kind of weird, especially since it's Paul Rudd versus Leonardo. So I'm they're both great options, girl.
Yeah, faking your death was a little extreme.
Yeah, honestly though, all they had to say was, "I'm already married." As father.
Yeah, which that might have started a whole war between the families
there. Which is
there.
fine, but you can't get married twice. The solution to that is just be I'm already married. There were witnesses. Okay,
witness. You see, that's one of the biggest problems I have with this story is just clearer communication would have solved everything. That and some patience and a better mail delivery service.
Well, in this case, yeah. To be fair, I think even in the play, it's like that, where the mail guy forgets.
He doesn't get the message to him in time. Yeah. But it's just that's what I learned from it. It's have patience and communicate better, and you don't have to go and die.
No, yeah. I think it's very interesting. The scene that we are talking about, which is the death scene that no one really likes, because, freaking kids, ending their own lives just for a perceived love.
That no one else approves of.
Yeah. Well, it's not that no one else approves of, right? No one else knows.
Because they know their families will not approve, because their families hate each other.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, the uncle let Romeo be at the gathering. So, and to be fair, if you study the actual text of Romeo and Juliet, Romeo is the only Montague that is well respected. Yes, he is the heir, so he's the main dude, but he's actually the only one that doesn't have any aggression with the Capulets. In fact, he was invited to Rosalind's. That's why he was friends with Rosalind, and Rosalind was a Capulet. If there was any Montague that they might have approved of, it would have been Romeo. Which is the annoying part. I'm just saying.
Well, you see, the kids didn't think.
Well, yeah, they were 14 and 17.
Too young to get married.
Yeah.
Too young to fall in love.
Too young to get married. But to be fair, Paris is right when he says women her age are already married or whatever, which is true at that time. Like,
yeah, everything happened when people were younger.
Yeah,
because life expectancy also wasn't as long as it is now.
Yeah, so I get it. I understand. I respect it as much as one can when children are involved. It's an interesting storyline. I definitely think the friar was responsible for a lot of things.
Like good or bad?
Bad,
like
man. He just needed to speak up. He also, married them because he was hoping that it would reunite the families. And I'm like, cool, but if you do it in secret, how is that supposed to bring the family together?
Yeah, and then he's the one who tells Juliet, take this and I'll make it look like you're dead.
Yeah, oh my god. He's so...
It's like, you can't just run away. It's like, you don't have to go fake your death.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't have internet back then. I mean, it looked like they did maybe. But it sure didn't happen, okay? I'm just saying. You didn't have to...
Yeah, she could have just run away and run off with him. That's called eloping. They could have just gone. But no, they didn't. They decided to be extremely dramatic and die.
I'm not gonna lie though, so that scene, it's so funny because that scene where Romeo's doing his dialogue and stuff, I thought it was very beautifully done, both film-wise and both Leonardo DiCaprio performing it, to the point where the actress who plays Juliet is like, don't make me cry, I'm supposed to be comatose.
They all did a great job acting. It's just the story itself.
You're like, the story is what's wrong. No, yeah, I agree with that part, but it's, I don't know, I've warmed up to it. It's definitely better than West Side Story, though, I will say that. If I had to choose.
Well, West Side Story, do you mean the old or the new one?
I don't care, just West Side Story.
Well, that story is again, try and tell it a modern tale, which is always a risk if you take any old classic and put it in a modern setting. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like the BBC when they did Sherlock series with Benedict Cumberbatch, they put it in a modern time and it worked. That worked great. West Side, I think some of it works because they contributed to what it actually was between different
it was territory,
cultures.
Yeah,
and it's that is the thing that actually happens.
Yes,
so
but you're gonna.
I think that made it believable.
Okay, so I guess my biggest pet peeve with the West Side Story, and maybe it should be with Romeo and Juliet, but really it's I was watching it with my brother and we were both like, what the... Okay. So, in Romeo and Juliet, it's the cousin. It's like the distant cousin, okay? Yeah, they're close, but not really they're close, okay? And in West Side Story, it's the brother.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a huge difference. I mean, I love my cousins, don't get me wrong. There's a huge difference between, my cousin and then my brother, and being okay with the fact that he killed my brother. And so, I mean, but that scene has always been, controversial, but I think they did do it beautifully in this movie, in the sense that, so the reason that he says, I am not your enemy, I do not take offense, let me tell you why, we are to be friends or whatever, is because he's his wife, he's already married to Juliet. So he was literally trying to tell him while they were fighting that, bro, we in-laws. Don't fight me, bro. And he,
it would have helped if he just come out and said it and not, talking such long sentences.
Hyperboles.
Yeah. Don't beat around the bush. Just say it.
Just say it. 1, 2. Fair enough. He did not say it. But he tried.
Yeah. Now, do you think maybe this film might have worked better if they didn't use the Shakespeare text. Still everything else the same, still the same story. They went as close as they could, but just not in that older language. What do you think would have been the effects then? Would people have received it better, or would not have been as great?
So, there's pros and cons, and I thought about this when I was rewatching it, because I do remember that when I was trying to follow Romeo and Juliet, instead of, like, when I was studying it for school, instead of, like, watching the plays, I watched this, because I could, use the text. The problem that I have with that is, like, things like when they're yelling at the captain of the police department, and they're like, Prince, Prince, Prince. Like, bro, I don't know how rich you think you are, or how much you think you own the city enough to be talking to the captain of your police force by their last name like you homies. Like, no. But the reason that they did that is because in the play, it's supposed to be a prince. Like, they're supposed to show, yes, this rivalry is big, but there's still a monarch in Verona. And it's not either one of them. Like, they're not royalty. They're just rich people. There's a difference. It's a difference.
Rich people problems.
Yeah. So, that's, like, my pet peeve is because, like, I get that they're sticking to the script, but, like, in some moments, it doesn't make sense to the scenario that they're in. The dialogue, even though it is true to Shakespearean form, and I think that was, like you said, a beautiful or, like, a risky thing, but I think it was done well. I 100% think that if this was done in modern times, they'd be rebooting it right now. Like, it would have, I think it would have enhanced it. But,
You mean if it was regular dialogue?
yeah. And it could have that Shakespearean twang. Like, they could kind of say it in that manner, but not, like, on point to that manner. But just because, like, instead of going, like, Prince, Prince, they could have been, like, but Captain, like, I don't, like, and then when they're talking about poison and, like, that, it doesn't really make sense, because they're, like, in the scenario that they are, and then it's, like, take this, and he shows them cash, and I'm like, I don't know if that was added.
And he's like, here's my gold.
Yeah,
cash.
I'm like, so, like, it did try to, like, twerk to the scenarios, but there were certain scenarios where I'm like, that line just doesn't make sense with what's going on in the scene. And it's just, like, frustrating because it's so beautiful. Again, editing smacking in your face, though, bro. Whew! I can't get over that. Okay, I was like, tell me you're there. Tell me I'm watching a movie.
Yeah, because good editing is you're not supposed to notice it.
Yeah. And as people who edit, it's just like, why? But I feel
I think of Romeo and Juliet, since it's been, it's an old story, it's going to continue being redone. It's when no one complains about a reboot of Shakespeare stuff. Like, we have a new Much Ado About Nothing coming out soon. And these stories are always going to be redone.
Yeah.
And so I think that alone is a bit of a risk for any writer and director, because not only are they taking on a classic work, but they're taking on a work that has been done so many times already in film. So they have to figure out how to make it new. Or is it going to be set back in a certain time period? Is it going to be modern? How's it going to look? So if I was like a director or filmmaker, I would kind of stay away from that, just because it's been done so much and you're competing for fans' attention on this piece when they already have their favorite Romeo and Juliets.
That's true. That is fair. Oh. I don't know if
Are you stuck on your pattern?
No, it's just having me do like this like weird stitching accent on the helmet. But I don't know if I want to do that.
Might not look right if you don't, though.
Yeah, I know, I'm thinking about that. Okay.
To everyone listening who is interested in the crochet part of this, I am a self-taught crocheter. I've been crocheting seriously for about a year now. I mostly make home decor or stuffed animals, stuff like that.
And then on my behalf, I had a science teacher that did not want to teach me physics, but also did not want me to disturb the class. So she taught me how to single stitch crochet. So it's just like that's literally the only stitch she taught me was single stitch. And then after that, it was all like internet and YouTube and books and stuff.
Yes, thank you to everyone who puts out crochet video tutorials like on YouTube. I look up so many of those when I'm trying out a new stitch or just a complicated thing. It's very helpful.
I agree. We are not one of those people, but if you do that,
we're not at that level yet. We are not experts. We are still learning.
But back to Baz Luhrmann, man. That director is in your face. Yeah, I mean, it is 100% his style.
And he's still working and like doing
big stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like recognized movies, so it worked for him.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting. I think had it been done in modern times, it could have been bad though. Like, who knows? It could have not been as impactful. But I do think it was like a lot of information all at the same time while keeping up with the Shakespearean dialogue. Was just...
Yes, more modern speech would have helped it. Because you have already so much going on visually and how fast they're talking that, just modernize the speech a bit so it's just easier to understand exactly what they're saying when they're saying it. I think it would have helped it.
I agree with that, yeah. I did love cinematically, so the scene where Tybalt dies and Romeo's best friend dies, I don't know if they're the same person, but definitely when the cousin and the bestie die, that was beautifully done. I'm a big fan of that because it, first of all, like the way that it was shot on that like kind of like arch background type thing, and it's like Romeo not wanting to fight clearly because he's like, bro, I am now a Capulet by marriage, like we got no beef, you are my kinsman, all that Shakespearean talk, so it was like, I don't know, like the way that it was shot in that like kind of idea, I was like, oh, it's about to go down. And so it's like, I love that setup. I love the whole pox on both your houses. All that scenario stuff. Okay, I did it. Look. I added it right there. For those of you who are not watching us crochet and me epically fail, I am really trying to work on this Mandalorian helmet for my brother. 'Cause life. But no, yeah, so I thought that scene was really, really good. I love, like, the transition from Romeo going, like, bro, we family, we good, let's do this, to I'ma kill you. You killed my best friend. And so, I don't know, silly stuff like that. It's just like...
That was interesting of when the friend died on the beach. He made it all the way from the arch with the stage, all the way down almost to the water, and then died. But then the camera stayed there while Romeo ran back to his car and got in it. And like one of his family, whatever, he ran after him to go stop him.
Yeah.
And if you look in the distance, you can see Romeo push him away and then take off. And it's like, that was an interesting choice of keeping the camera so far back from your main actor and the action that he's doing.
That's fair. And I don't know, I think it was to distance Romeo from it now. Like this is how far away Juliet is from him now. Like, this is the distance that it will now bring to light, I guess, would be kind of like what we're going with. And I find it funny. I'm sorry, I'm going back to like, I really feel like people would not have cared that they got married. Everyone knew that he liked Rosalind, and they were all cool with him liking Rosalind, a Capulet. So I'm just saying. What is
But Juliet is the prize daughter.
And he's the prize son. It's perfect. It's so perfect. I got feelings, man. I got feelings about the fact that they should not have died.
Oh no, they shouldn't have, and but it's supposed to be the tragic love story, and I personally just don't see it.
I will not lie though, like the acting on his behalf, like, oh my god, I still, like, even rewatching it, I was like, oh snap! Yes, I was gonna cuss and I fixed it too. Oh snap. Was when she like wakes up. So like in a lot of adaptations, he doesn't realize that she's not dead. Like he just dies and then like...
And then she wakes up.
Yeah. And this one, they do it where she wakes up, right, like the second, like while he still hasn't drank in the potion. And like if he had just looked down.
Yeah, he needs to learn how to pay attention. Yeah. He would realize that, hey, she's waking up.
Yeah, had he just looked down, guys, he wouldn't have offed himself.
Or she had woken up a little bit earlier and they're like, hey, just say something.
I know, like also she didn't say anything, like, Romeo! Like, but to be fair, she was admiring his beauty, and y'all know he is very, very handsome. He is Leonardo DiCaprio in his youth. So, like, I get that, I understand it, but it was like the shocked face and that close-up on Romeo, like, that stunnedness, like, I don't know why that shot just still gives me chills, like, how that was, like, attempted, how that was performed. It was just so great. And to me, I was like, that makes that scene. Like, that scene did not have as much emphasis, and like, I think in any other adaptation, except for this one, because she woke up, because the moment that he drank the thing, he then realized his mistake, which is what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to realize he made a mistake. And then
But then it's too late.
Yeah. And then I do understand that I think for ratings wise, they did pan away from the shot. Like they did show that she was putting it to her head.
Like you don't need to see that actually happen.
Yeah, that
really
echoing. And I think that was a smart way to do it because that gunshot does echo in the town. Like the whole Verona has stopped because these two lovers killed themselves. Like this is the news that we started with this play, and this is like how it ends with the play. So I think it was beautifully done. I do agree with it, but I do think it's just hilarious that she was gonna shoot herself before Father the priest guy stopped her, and then she ended up shooting herself. Like, I guess it was inevitable that she was gonna use a gun, or back in the day, a knife. I don't know. I just really, really like that scene. Everything else was like a little hard. Like, even when they sleep together, that was like so weird for me.
It's all just style. It's very stylistic. And if you don't like that style, then it's really hard to stay invested in the movie because you just keep getting taken out of it whenever you see something, whether it's the editing, the environment, the colors, whatever it is. If it's like shocking to you, it takes you out of the movie, and then it can be hard to get back into it, and then you're just not invested in it, you're not paying attention, and you don't have like any feelings towards it. Which is why you can get the people who are like, I love this movie, it's the best movie ever, and you got the people who are like, no, I don't see it.
I just think it's stylistic, it's bold. It's personally not my cup of tea, but I actually really do like that this movie exists, if that makes sense. Like, I like that someone attempted to do a Romeo and Juliet in this specific style.
Yeah, no, every movie is made for a reason, whether good or bad, and it's good to have it on record.
It's good to have it on record. Yeah. Poor Paul Rudd, though, man. Gets outstaged by Leonardo DiCaprio. Not over that. Poor Paul Rudd. Okay. Go Ant-Man. He gets the girl, don't worry. Just not against Leo. Not against Leo. It's crazy that they're like, I think they're very similar in age, and yet I feel like Paul Rudd has barely aged at all since this movie.
Yeah, that's a joke of how he just doesn't seem to age.
Like, I think Paul Rudd might be a vampire, guys. Don't quote me on that, but based on the information provided, it is a possibility. Now, they say that for Tom Cruise. What else do I have to say about Romeo and Juliet? Hold up. No, I just feel bad for Paul Rudd, man. Poor Paris. Choose Paris, woman! Choose Paris and you would have lived!
Lived a long, happy life.
Been a little grateful. I don't know. He seemed dorky and adorable and was quite... It's Paul Rudd!
He would have waited on her hand and foot and given her everything she wanted.
That's true.
He would have been... I bet he would also been a good father to any kids they would have had.
Yeah.
So, she chose the wrong choice.
Poor Romeo, though. Come on, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. Who can't say no to that? Young version. Now for going against Leonardo and Paul Rudd, I'm choosing Paul Rudd. In 2025, I'm choosing Paul Rudd. Thank you very much. Have you seen those abs? I know they don't compare to Captain America, but they're pretty. Ant-Man got his own style. Okay, Ant-Man got his own style.
Now, here's a question, actually. For Romeo and Juliet, just a story in general. Do you think it would work if it was with older people? Or do you know if there's been any rendition done of it where Romeo and Juliet are adults? Or is it always teenagers?
It's either been young adults, so they have had it where they're like past 18, but they are usually like in their early 20s. I don't think there's ever been... I think the closest would be Gnomes, where they were like two gnomes, and they of course look older because they're gnomes.
Yeah.
But I think part of the story is their youthful ignorance in this chaotic world. So I think that is a huge part of the story that you can't really take away. But to be fair, that would be an interesting take on Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind seeing that of, I don't know, like two people like in their 40s. Like, that would be interesting to see a filmmaker create that.
Yeah, because I think the only one that's close to that is like maybe late 20s, is one where like they're two pizza places across the street from each other, and like their kids come back from college, like I think after graduating or something, and they're about to take over the family business, and they fall in love, but they're enemies.
Yeah, but it's like always young people just starting out in their lives, and it's like it'd be interesting to see two adults fully in their careers and their lives and try to twist the story to fit that.
We should write that. T. That's what should happen. We're gonna write that storyline. Don't worry, it's gonna happen.
Well, how about everybody comment in the comments down there about what you think? Like, do you think Romeo and Juliet with people in their 40s, or even, let's go even more, like 2 people in their 60s? That'd be interesting. Like, would you think that would work, and would you watch it?
Be like 2 rival senior citizen homes.
That would be hilarious.
I actually now want to do that. Oh my god, I would so write that script. It'd be the best rom-com ever.
That would be great. No, it'd be great. I would watch it.
And then they would die because they're old. Killed each other. Oh my gosh. The silly things we come up with. Write down below if you want us to do that. I'll write that script. I'll give it a try.
The senior citizen Romeo and Juliet.
Senior citizen Romeo and Juliet. Seniors. No, yeah, but I think that's really all I have to talk about. Romeo and Juliet. It's just so stylistic that there's really no like critiquing it. It's either you love it or you hate it, or you're indifferent to it, I guess. But I feel like it's a love-hate relationship.
I got the hate.
I actually really like it.
Yeah, see, you got the love, I got the hate. At least I can say I have seen it now, finally. So next week we have a movie that is considered like the first rom-com in film. Because we know, of course, stories have been done all way before that. It is called It Happened One Night, starring Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert, and it's from 1934. So we'll be watching that and analyzing and critiquing that next time we see you guys. But that's just a good way to end the romantic month, with starting with what is considered the first romantic comedy on film.
Yeah. That is how we're ending our February, guys. Whoop, whoop. This will be fun. Oh my gosh. And as always, guys, we will have our polls on our community tab on YouTube. Go check that out, as well as our lineup for the following month. We will try to keep you guys kind of updated on like the dates and movie discussions, and feel free to comment down below on any of the videos or on our community tab so that your voices can be heard too. We're all about hearing what you guys have to say or think about specific movies and stuff. I hope you're getting value out of this. If you are, please like, subscribe, and share. I hope you are enjoying my mess of crocheting.
Get my basket done. Let's work on the sides now.
See? And if you want to purchase any of T's wonderful works, it is on her Etsy shop. I will put it in the descriptor, along with our affiliate program for Romeo and Juliet. You can either buy the movie or do it on hard copy. We rented it.
Yeah, off of Amazon Prime.
So there's that option in case you want to see what we're talking about when we're talking about stylistic movies. I think his work really worked for Elvis, but I don't know about this.
It was such a jarring style. Is a risk. I give him those kudos to that, and obviously people loved it enough that he's still in the business. It didn't cost him his career, so he did all right.
I'm on the pro that I really, really do like it. I like certain scenes from it. There are definitely scenes I'm not a fan of, but I think Romeo and Juliet meeting was a really good one. As we've talked about, is that arc scene right before Tybalt gets killed is a really beautiful one. And then I personally think their death scene is probably one of the best portrayed in both theater or cinema. So I really like it.
And I learned you don't do drugs. You don't quickly fall in love over a weekend. And have patience. Wait for communication to come through. Communicate well. And everything will work out. Don't be dramatic.
Lessons learned. And always choose Paul Rudd. Still with that. Even though Leonardo DiCaprio may be more handsome at times, look at how time has changed.
Yes. Yep. See, she chose poorly.
She chose poorly. I don't know, man. If Leo was talking to me like he was talking to her, I'd be like, sure. And then regret it years later. Who knows? But we never got to see that far. Because that's how the story ends. Which is funny because I always think, like, would it have been a good story if they didn't die? Like, if it didn't end in a tragedy, would then it be so memorable?
It wouldn't be. No one would be talking about it anymore.
Yeah. So, see? Sometimes reckless behavior has to happen.
For centuries, apparently.
For so many years. So many years. Alright guys, comment down below your favorite Romeo and Juliet adaptation. If it is another movie, hey, there might be next February. Might be on our list or not. Give us a chat. Thank you guys so much for your feedback. If the new video hasn't come out yet, we will post the previous videos of our discussions in these tags somewhere on the screen. And thank you guys for listening on any other devices such as Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon Music. We appreciate you supporting this podcast in any way, shape, or form. Don't forget to rate if you can rate, because it really helps out the channel. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. See ya.
See you next time. Bye.